I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Paris Union School District Number 95 Board of Education for Monday, January 5th. Let the record show that all members are present. The voting sequence for this meeting is as follows: Sanchez, Tuttle, Bailey, Calvert, Idle, Isaac, and Davis. Audience to visitors, will anyone in the audience like to address the board? Mr. Handover?
I was by the new complex the other day, and as I drove by, boy, that's a pretty good sized complex. And having had some experience around maintenance with my dad, I thought, what will the maintenance cost be out here for this, a projected maintenance cost? At the high school, what, you have 1.5 maintenance people at the high school now?
Sandy can talk about a little more than probably.
And we hired, the cleaning's done by a company, right?
Right.
Yes.
And it's going to have a lot more maintenance out there than the high school has, isn't it?
Well, we've already hired a maintenance.
We've hired a maintenance
Right.
supervisor who does the record at the high school. I would anticipate, and I think we would anticipate you're going to have a few more workers than we have right now.
I would anticipate the same thing, yes.
They haven't really sat down and gotten those, figures, but we know it is a large building and there's a lot of
64 acres.
groundskeeping. And so, yes, I imagine it is going to take some more.
Well, how about utilities then? Is there going to be more utilities than
Well,
what
that
you're
remains to
using
be
now?
seen.
or-
We've gotten some projections and we're kind of reviewing those. Everything's air conditioned.
Mhm,
So but it is heat pump.
mhm.
So we're hoping there's going to be a lot of economy there, but I would say it'll be higher in utilities. It's just my guesstimate that, there's nothing definite yet. But I'm sure the high school will be talking about some of those things once they get those figures together and they start, when they're preparing the budget as well.
So you didn't have projections on that
No,
going
not-
into?
And
Either
Scott, you can correct me if, Scott's here tonight, actually Bennett, to talk about the high school, so.
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer your
Construction management.
question directly, but the engineering firm that designed your building's electrical system and mechanical systems in particular did do what's called basically a cost load analysis for the projected utility expenditures. I don't know what the results of that was off the top of my head, sorry.
But they are higher. They will be higher.
Oh, yes, ma'am, they were higher than the previous.
Because your gym's air conditioned, your theater, there's probably gonna be, but whereas our building's old and probably not as, we're gonna lose some, may not be as much higher as we're thinking compared to what we're paying now, but.
I remember one board meetings you bought equipment.
Mhm.
Now, did that come out of the money that the
That came out
state gave?
budget, yes.
That you can do that with that money. You can buy equipment.
Anything
mowers,
we
and
could
that
take out, now I think you have a copy of the budget.
No, I don't.
Well, you did maybe at one time, I don't know, maybe you didn't. But Scott, you can speak, we've got everything budgeted for, everything that can come out of that state money has been, and we still have some contingency left
Correct.
there. So, and we know money from the foundation coming, which, well, I can even let Tom, both of you on the cooperative board, or Beagle too, but there will be some monies as well that'll help offset some room costs and some more supplies and budget things from the Edgar County Foundation that they've been collecting for the school, which we haven't really looked at, all of that as well yet. But we're still within budget with everything we've done so far and still have some contingency dollars left.
Yes, but really, as far as the maintenance, the cost of maintenance projected, there is none really
No.
on that.
Not a projection.
dollar
Sam's
figure.
come to me a couple of times and we've talked about, just the size of the building and thinking
Yeah.
there probably need to be at least a couple more people to do some of but nothing definite that I could give you a dollar number or.
Connie,
Mhm.
what's the difference in the square footage, Sam, of the old high school and the new school? In terms of, you got 2 floors there and you got 1 floor out there. I don't think there's that much difference in the total square footage.
Your new building's about
Either gym.
135,000 square feet. I don't know what your old building is though.
About 90.
But you'd have to add Eagle Gym in too, which is
Yeah.
considerable.
And the maintenance part over there, the
Oh, the vocational.
vocational part.
Right.
So
I mean, we've got
The
quite a
number of
bit.
rooms are the same. I mean, they
Right.
still have the
Number of
right-
rooms are basically the
right, Scott? I mean,
same.
you have the same number of
Yeah,
teaching stations you had before.
Yes,
Yeah,
because the
before
state
each
required
grade.
you couldn't go any bigger or basically the what, so we've got approximately the same. The difference will be, like I said, that we've got air conditioning.
The theater and the gym.
Theater and
The
the gym
exterior
air
maintenance is gonna
conditioned
be-
and,
But I say
big part,
so, exterior maintenance is gonna be more
yeah,
considerably.
yeah, because you're gonna have some outside maintenance that, you know, because there's a lot of
Right.
And
grants.
that's something I'll have to figure out as I get going. It's hard to hire people when you don't know what you need
I
yet.
know, but this is not, I mean, Sam and I have been talking about this, and board members too, that will have to all be thought out as well, because there's gonna be some additional costs there, I'm sure.
Yeah, even though it's a brand new school,
Exactly.
it's gonna be a lot of maintenance
Yes.
involved in that you didn't have at the old school.
Right, right, but some things that we do have, like maintaining boilers and things that are very old and all, we won't have to deal with, but,
New
so we're hoping to leverage out.
And
it's
there's
gonna-
money budgeted for equipment, we're kind of going over that now, seeing what we think we're gonna need, what we can get a good deal on, you know. Not that you necessarily have to have a new tractor, but we want something, you know, that's, will do the job and stuff like that, so construction committee and stuff like that, we're looking into that now, kind of what they figure they need, and, you know, so there's money budgeted for that.
Anyone else like to address the board this evening? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. In your packets, you have minutes from the December 8th meeting and a list of, listing of the bills. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda this evening? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Sanchez,
yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Calvert,
Yes.
Idle,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Davis is yes. Secretary's report? Okay. Superintendent's agenda?
Okay, first item on the agenda this evening is Scott Bennett, who is our construction manager from Turner Construction's here to give the board. I told him it's probably just a good idea to get a little update on the school, see some pictures. Some of you haven't gone out there in quite a while or haven't been. So Scott, you can enlighten us.
Technologically savvy enough for this thing. Apparently not.
You need help.
Is it not
There's a
gonna work?
button I press.
You might have
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so as far as a progress update, I mean, basically the building, well over 90% complete, so it's actually easier to list of the work we still have to do, as opposed to going over all the work that has been completed. So our general trade contractor, this is kind of the guy who got stuck with all the little itty bitty things that are left to do on the job. A lot of little miscellaneous finishes that need to be completed after the flooring is done. He's got to install some mirrors and curtains and wire mesh partitions in the locker rooms, the toilet partitions and accessories obviously have to go in after the toilet flooring is done. There's a wheelchair lift that was a special order item, and then the kitchen hoods in your foods lab still need to go in. Glass and glazing, there is one fire rated door assembly. Again, that was a special order item that did come in at the end of December, and they started installation of that today. So hopefully that will be done this week. Flooring, kind of our biggest culprit right now. VCT is done in areas A and B. They're working in C, and they still have D to go. Carpet we've specifically held off on. I wanted that to be one of the very last things to go. There's some carpeting in areas A and B that still needs to get finished. The wood floor in the gymnasium is going in as we speak. All of the sub base is in, and they've started putting the wood down to the floor itself. That should be finished at the end of this week. We'll move into sanding that next week and hopefully start striping that next week as well. And then the restroom resinous flooring is ongoing in B, C, and D. It's done in A, it's done in the kitchen. It allowed the kitchen equipment to go in. That's why we started that first. Food services, they are still finishing. It's actually finished. It's just it's in its curing period. So there's some serving line equipment that needs to get delivered. That's scheduled for delivery on Thursday, so it'll be done into this week as well. Theater equipment, everything, all the rigging. I have some photos of that later. I'll show you all the rigging is installed. So the only thing that's left is the curtains. Again, those curtains are dust magnets, so that's literally the very last thing we'll probably do on the job. Casework, all the casework is done. There's some rework that needs to be done in the STEM lab where a bunch of sinks were put in incorrectly, so those have been reordered and need to get put back in. Painting, final painting is ongoing, done in A and B. They need to finish up C and D, and then all the public orders, again, we held off those to be last. Into the mechanical, electrical, plumbing work. Mechanical, they're working on testing and balancing the system, and then there's a final commissioning to make sure that the entire system is working properly. Electrical, auditorium lighting and rigging is ongoing. Excuse me, rigging power is ongoing. Fire alarm wiring ongoing. Some of the door connections, a lot of your doors are power actuated doors, so those connections are ongoing. They're testing out all the technology system wiring. And then there was a fair amount of district requested change order work that the electrician is still finishing up. Plumbing, the only thing he has left are some of the fixtures in that concession area for the football stadium. Again, they were waiting on that. That should be done this week. Fire protection, the only thing left there is the final system test. And then site work, all of this will have to happen next spring now that we're into some lovely winter weather. Some track striping, the auditorium drainage line, we may be able to get that in if we get a slight break in the weather. Some rework at the asphalt at the west parking lot and the stadium path that needs to happen. The ornamental fencing that'll go in after that asphalt work. A few sidewalk leave outs, one over by the auditorium, and some work under the stadium, the home side visitor stadium. Then there's some miscellaneous seating that'll have to be done next spring, and then the final system startup for the irrigation system will be next spring as well. On the good news side, we've had 3 incidents on the project. That's well below industry standards, so we've been very successful in that. And all of those incidents were extremely minor incidents to boot. So what's called our safety index has been extremely successful on this job. So some photos, there's your band room, some of the sound panels. The ones that are covered, those are your sound absorbing panels, and then you can see the ones that aren't covered. The sound reflective panels are harder material, so they don't need to be covered and protected. A lot of these photos do show protection, so you don't get to see your final product until we clean up. There's your terrazzo flooring finished in the cafeteria that has since been covered up to be protected. There's some of your interior curtain wall system. That's a doorway that goes into your media center or your library. Here's your parking lot with your parking lot lights that's been striped. That's the rainbow, or the terrazzo flooring rainbow at the main entry. Again, but that's before it was polished. It's since been polished and has also been covered. There's the hallway, that's the area C corridor. Again, that's still curing, so that's why it looks all shiny and wet. Again, that's also been covered. There's your STEM lab, just nice and cleaned out and ready to accept flooring that's already in place. There's some of your bulletin boards. I think that's in your STEM lab also. There's some of your food services equipment in the kitchen. This is the beginning, that's the vapor barrier installation in your gymnasium. It goes underneath of the wood floor system. Just showing there's some of the electrical trim out. You can see all the switches are in, your thermometer is in, the fire alarm gauge is in, and there's some whiteboards and bulletin boards installed there also. That's your fitness room, painted with the stripes, and then some of the mirrors that have been installed. That's the area D corridor. You can see the ceiling tiles have been installed, and that is ready for flooring in there. That's the corridor gets VCT flooring. Your main entry, your drywall ceiling in your main entry. The big circle there is a light fixture that gets installed. Here's your auditorium, the wood paneling in the auditorium. Again, it's been covered to be protected. You can also see the seats, those have been in for a while. That's the sub-base flooring for your gym. You see still getting installed. That is, as I said earlier, all installed now, and they're starting the wood floor. There's some of the wood paneling. That's the that's the auditorium. No, that's the gym entrance. Sorry, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. Still getting back into the swing here. So that's your gym entry, the covered part with the styrofoam. That's where the trophy cases will be. That's the rigging, the theater rigging that I talked about. Those work all of the line sets that put the sets up and down, and your curtains and such. There's your restroom, the resinous epoxy flooring in your restrooms. That's the second of the 2 glass wall partitions, or the nano walls, as I've called them. There's one of your locker rooms, lockers installed, ceilings installed, light fixtures installed. So the only thing to go in there is the concrete sealant for the floors. That is, I believe, your chemistry lab, just showing the casework that's in there. Just another classroom, the VCT flooring in the classroom, bulletin board and whiteboard. There is the beginning of the installation of the wood flooring in your gymnasium, and that should be done the end of this week. That's the flooring that has been installed in your kitchen. That's the serving area in particular that I was talking about, so that's drying as we speak, and Thursday that equipment will be delivered. So schedule-wise, again, I think I said earlier, about 95% complete. Still expect to turn over the building to the district in March. Some of the critical path areas, the flooring obviously, the electrical technology work that needs to get finished, the auditorium stage floor, that material is being delivered this week. So they'll get that started. The gymnasium, the wood floor that still needs to get completed, and then after the wood floor, the bleachers. So those bleachers will probably be one of the last activities that carry us into March. And then again, there's some district requested changeover work that we're still getting completed. Budget, and we talked about this earlier, but again, we're on budget for all of our cost categories. We're at about a little over 5% changes to date. Half of those are district requested changes, so that's been made available through those contingencies we've set up, and through good management of our funds, we've been able to add a fair amount of scope that the district wanted to the building. Contingencies, again, remain fully funded, including all costs, worst case analysis of allocations to date. So we're covered there and do expect to return some of that money back to the district at the end of the job. Some of the open issues on the design side, actually I saw an email this morning where we were looking for some information on the district provided scoreboard, so I think we've got that. Still some decisions to be made at the stadium graphics. There was a decision to add some classroom casework, still working on the details of that. The athletic field concession building, we have a hold in the budget for that right now, but beyond that, we're not doing anything at the moment. Technology scope and the security scope continues to get played with a little bit in terms of adding some scope that was previously district provided and putting it into our scope. And then there were some discussions to add some exterior lighting to the project. So, and all in all, pretty minor issues on the design side left open. And that's about it. And I threw this up top there. That was a year ago. About a year ago today almost. And then here we are today. So
Is the electrical to the building finished, or is that gonna be underground?
to the building
Yeah.
from Enerstar?
Yeah.
Yes and no. It was installed by Enerstar last year, so we were good to go. They are out there, however, putting in a secondary line that they're still working on. So yes, the building has permanent power, but they're installing a secondary source in case anything went wrong with the initial transformer. They could immediately switch over to the secondary transformer, and that way any interruption of the building would be minimal. That's my understanding anyway. Does that answer your question?
Is that underground too?
Yes, it's all underground.
Ask a question. Scott, what happens, can you take us through what happens when you turn the building over? I mean, is there a date, or how does it happen? I haven't been through one of this before, I'm just saying.
Well, right now, again, the work that I showed up there that we're still completing.
Right.
We've also started what we call our punch list phase. We've done the exterior punch list was done before the weather turned bad, before the holidays. That's where we go around with the architect, the engineers, whether it be the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, or the civil engineer, or the landscape architect, or whoever. We go around and develop what we call a punch list, where we note any items that need corrective action. Now, through our quality control program, we have what's called a QA/QC log that we've been running throughout the entire job in an effort to keep that punch list to a minimum. So that will, for the interior of the building, will start in the next few weeks. Then that work gets completed. I believe they have a 30-day time frame to get that work completed. Once that's completed and signed off on by Turner and the architect or the engineers, then we will officially hand the keys over to the district.
And then you're done? Turner's done, or?
Correct. Now, we do have some spring comeback work for that site.
So you'll be back on the site work you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
Is that
more
correct?
likely, yeah.
Okay. And then I have one other question. The money from the contingency that comes back, what happens with that?
I don't know how much money we're really gonna be talking when we get all said and done. That'll still be decided, it'll probably still go into the project somewhere, because we still have some things we'd like to
Right,
add.
I mean,
and
it's
took
still
out.
included in the budget right now, it
Right.
would just allow you to buy more furniture
Right.
or whatever else you felt
Put more
necessary.
into other areas that we cut back on at this point. But it's just nice to know that this far along in the project, there's still some contingency money, and we're not looking at being over budget at all, and, so we're pretty
Right.
happy about that.
And that does not even include any of the, I don't remember what it's officially called, but any of that extra money.
None of the foundation.
Foundation money, that
Right,
that
and
is
that's
not
all
in the
for,
budget.
that's all inside, right?
Right, most of that is
inside.
everything inside.
Okay.
Yes, Cliff?
Was there some ground set aside for the ag department? Were they gonna be doing some outside field work? I mean, is that somewhere in this?
I think there is some ground set aside for the, Dave, you'd have to talk with them a little bit more about that. But then they've even talked about adding a greenhouse. We've looked at
Right,
the
yeah.
greenhouse. So, if there's contingency money left, there's lots of areas that we'll probably be looking at.
Don't they still own the land right here? Do they farm this land right here?
Crestwood owns this land.
Oh, okay,
Here.
but FFA farms that.
Right, they still
Okay.
farm this,
Okay, yeah.
but they still talked about doing some planting areas and some things for, their vocational, but.
I thought I'd understood that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Basically, on the contingency money, I'm sure that everybody's got ideas on how they're gonna spend it, so we'll just see, what's.
What about the concession stand? Is there a holdup with that, or you guys just don't know what you want yet? Or I've heard, at your meetings, the high school meetings.
Well, we're gonna build it, but we're doing it, the way I understand it, is in.
The last direction that I heard was, again, the money's in the budget, it's
Yeah.
a hold in the budget, but it would be something that the district would handle directly.
Okay.
Yeah, but we might be able to get outside
Outside.
things, or we might be able, a lot of the stuff, I had Chris Carr give me a list of stuff, Tom and I'd asked him to make the field, varsity, playing with dugouts and stuff like that, and he gave me a list, and a lot of the stuff that I've looked at, I kind of wondered if maybe a shop class can't afford,
Okay.
like batting cages stuff, it'd be a good experience, they could do blocks, stuff like that, so we'll just see, how that stuff works out, and what we can do to get stuff.
Because there were certain things we took out, and we took out originally, and then we weren't gonna have a concession, and we're gonna have once we kept going through our budget and readjusting and doing, so we've added a lot, technology and a lot more things that way, but still keeping within, so.
Are we saying 39 million? Is that what you're saying? Is that close?
39, yeah, that's close.
What's 100,000?
The number that I usually keep track of is the direct construction cost, so.
Okay,
It's close to that, yeah.
okay.
The high school was built big enough so that at some point, if the county wanted to use it as a county high school, are there rooms, are there areas of the high school? Because, obviously, when it starts, we won't have the other schools joining us. Are there areas of the high school that will not be utilized
No.
because you won't need that space?
Yeah, we would just have enough, calculating, say if one district even came in, there probably would, we're gonna have enough space even in rooms. If the whole county came in, we may need to add some additional, but our cafeterias, our theater, our main areas, our gymnasiums, we knew we were building, and that would accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
But if every district in the county came in, there might be some additional classrooms, but I would say probably minimal.
Okay, thank you.
And there is quite a bit of unused land to the southwest.
Yeah, we still have a lot of land.
Earlier, we climbed up on the roof, and it's amazing how much land was.
Goes back behind the
Yeah.
ball field and
It's
stuff,
really
down to the water where they had talked about.
Which is
doing
gonna be like
greenhouse.
an ecological lab.
Yes.
and all
Yeah,
that.
they were talking about greenhouse, stuff like that, so.
Have you gone, did you go visit?
I have never been in. the
Okay,
building.
well, I just heard that you had requested, and Dave was
Yeah.
gonna take you and maybe the Beacon or something that
Gary-
here
yeah.
soon.
Gary went out this weekend.
Oh, okay, so. You weren't there, were you? That one, you were
That's
gone.
news to me.
Dave's the one I think that kind of
Yeah,
set
he
it
did.
up, so. Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Sure.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is employment. We, as you know, had a resignation at Wynn School. One of our cooks had left there, so Darla Davidson, our food service coordinator, is recommending employing Mary Lou Irwin to be the assistant cook to fill the vacancy of John Todd at Wentz Elementary. I'd ask the board to approve this employment.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
We got one fundraiser request from Mr. Larson at Mayo Middle School. Under student activities, he's asking to raise funds for various funds such as drama club, Roots Readers, spelling bee. I'd ask the board to approve this fundraiser request.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, and just under informational, I had mentioned to you that Jeremy and Carol are going to speak at Eastern Illinois University in February on curriculum leadership. And as you know, they also spoke at the school board convention in Chicago and did an excellent job there. So pretty honored that they've been asked to speak again. School board election filing, everybody knows, was held the week of the 15th to the 22nd. There was a lottery held for place on the ballot, and Kevin Knopfel and Cliff Mackey are both here this evening. The order will be Kevin, Cliff, Amy Isaac, Steve Idle, and Cindy Mathis. We have 4 positions to fill with 5 people running for the board. So it's nice to see that we have an interest and people are out there. I've read where some counties and cities aren't finding people to fill different elected positions. So that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Do we have any committee reports this evening? Public hearings and petitions, unfinished business, matters for follow-up, any new business, right to revert to prior order of business. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes, the meeting is adjourned.